I was raised in the Cold War, the end of the Cold War, but still in the Cold War. And we were taught that Russia was evil because of X, Y, and Z. And then before 9/11, we were taught we were great because we didn't do these things. After 9/11, we do all those things that we were taught made the USSR evil because they did them. Blacklisting, you got to have your travel done, all of these things. And so the reality is that that's an infamous day that changed America from one identity to another identity, and we have to discuss it. But what's more than that? What's more than that is that this is the introduction that so many Americans have to Islam. This is the introduction that they received to Islam, and we need to be honest and clear that these 19 people, this is the official narrative. But there's some things that don't add up. There just are some things that don't add up. So rather than get into conspiracy theories or tote the official line, because honestly, as Muslims, we need to speak the truth. We need to take a middle way. Let's just look at what happened. Let's discuss what happened, and let's look at what we can do to move forward. And I think that was really the heart of the messages. I believe. It's my personal belief. I don't push this on anybody, and I try to refrain from addressing this too much in the book. But I don't believe that 9/11 was plotted out by 19 people and they carried it out and they were alone. There's just too many things, such as the NORAD, no fly, no identify friend or foe, NORAD being told to stand down, the passports floating down gently despite their being made out of paper while the black box not being found. There's so many things that don't add up. This is my own position again. But if we focus on that, then we lose sight of what really happened that day. And what really happened that day was a shift in America. Everything changed that day. And so we have to discuss that.
Brother Mansour, did Chapter 90 have any, pronounced impact on you when you read it?
I'm sorry, I didn't do my homework, and I had not read that chapter yet.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it's a very profound writing that the brother does in that chapter, and it really resonated with me because from day one. Up until now, I questioned the official narrative, again, as you stated, not based upon any willy-nilly conspiracy theory, but just based on hard facts. The fact that, as this large body of engineers, non-Muslim engineers in the West, many of them leaders in their field of structural engineering and the building sciences, they've raised their questions. Never has before or since a building been brought down, skyscraper been brought down through fire. The building coming down in its own footprint, as in a controlled demolition, coming down in its own footprint. All three of the buildings. The two that were hit by planes, and the one that wasn't hit by a plane, and the skyscrapers being built in such a way as to be able to withstand an accidental plane crash into it. The scenario of these 19 hijackers armed with nothing more than box cutters, taking over planes and being able to maneuver these planes in New York in ways that some of the most seasoned pilots that have been piloting planes for years would have been difficult for them to do, to be able to bank an airliner in such a way that they could hit skyscrapers. I mean, there were just so many things. The Israelis that were apprehended after in nearby northern New Jersey, filming the drama that was unfolding and celebrating, and then being taken into custody, and it being discovered that these were Israelis that were held for a time and then ended up being, I presume, deported back to Israel. I mean, just so many things that just didn't make sense. So, You know, that chapter really resonated with me. The other thing that resonated with me, brother, was the argument you made about the Taliban. The argument you made about the Taliban, which are now being once again demonized. Now, when we go back to the presidency of Ronald Reagan, you know, one of the big conservative heroes of the conservative wing of the Republican of the American construct. You know, Reagan, he is like a demigod. But one of the things that Reagan and those around him were saying about the Taliban during his administration was that these were freedom fighters. They labeled them as freedom fighters, and it was because of the Taliban who were armed by Uncle Sam in its battle against the then Soviet Union, that the Soviet Union was brought down. But then, after everything was said and done, the Soviet Union collapses and Uncle Sam remains the sole superpower on the block. Then the Taliban, who were freedom fighters, then become enemies. And a reminder of that old political canard that there are no permanent friends or enemies, only interests. So we saw that play itself out. And then the Taliban demonized. One of the things that you pointed out in the book, accurately so, was that one of the reasons why the Taliban was able to take control of Afghanistan in the way that they did when they were labeled freedom fighters is because of the violence and the corruption of the warlords. They were welcomed by the people of Afghanistan. They brought stability to Afghanistan. They did away with the poppy cultivation, etc. SubhanAllah. And then, now, and then when it became convenient, for them to be demonized and then used as a basis for another war, then
this is another issue that, and I tried to touch upon it. I hinted at it in the book, but it's a serious thing. Everybody asked the question, well, why would America invade Afghanistan? What's the purpose behind the invasion? They have no natural resources. I mean, we take what we take. But we have to understand 70% of our opium, 70% of the opium of the United States came out of Afghanistan. And when Mullah Omar sanctioned, made the fatwa that anybody who was caught producing it would be put to death. This is when we invaded. And the first thing that we did was give them the poppy seeds to start the production again. The number one reason, in my opinion, this is just me, the number one opinion why we invaded Afghanistan is because we wanted to take control of the poppy fields, because Mullah Omar and the Taliban illegalized the poppy trade, the opium trade rather. And so there's realities here. And even one of the reasons the Taliban is continuously successful, and I've never been to Afghanistan, I don't know the Taliban, I'm not supporting them, like I'm just speaking from what I've garnered, but one of the things about the Taliban, the reason that they remain successful is because they go into an area, they liberate that area, and then they leave that area. And so they're constantly helping the people and getting out, And that's why they still have the people support to this day, even though, again, in our media, they continue to be demonized.